Hi, I'm Father Frank DiCiano, continuing our video meditation on immigration.
In part one, we looked at some of the scriptural basis for attitudes toward immigration, and we looked at ancient Israel and how so often in that world populations were forced to move or chose to move, and how the Jews were called specifically to treat the alien as they themselves were treated, because they were aliens too. And in the Gospel of Matthew, we see at the end in Matthew 25 how the very point of our judgment will be exactly how we treat the other. I was a stranger and you took me in.
And part two talks about some of the gospel perspectives that we're called to have. Because generous acceptance of others includes a recognition of the abundant blessings and extraordinary resources of the United States and the New World. And no blessing is given to be kept or to be hoarded. Generous acceptance of others also recognizes that often policy on immigration is driven by an ungenerous political opportunism, which exploits undue fears at the expense of the other and the stranger. The historical treatment of Asians, of Southern Europeans, of people from Latin America, and most recently Muslims, all demonstrate how political opportunism can shape immigration policy. At the same time, the human context of immigration, and not just political factors, must play a significant role in our own moral attitudes. Before there are laws, there are people. Before there is policy, there are human situations. The free exchange of people and goods across our southern border hardly represents a new threat to our culture. Indeed, this exchange defined the American Southwest before it even became American territory. The ready employment of certain classes of workers, whether they're professional or not, clearly reveals a human economic situation that also frames the conversation. These people are needed and needed by our economy. The enculturation of immigrant people into American society shows ongoing enculturation of their families into our American life. A whole urban experience of ethnic neighborhoods points this out. And notably, the de facto participation of the children of immigrants in American culture, often the only culture they know, establishes a clear demand for their inclusion as full participants in American life. While the framework of our current American law, which is clearly inadequate, can provide some perspective as we reflect on our current immigration situation, how often we hear they broke our law. This framework can hardly claim to be exclusive or to be decisive. The whole point of immigration reform, in fact, acknowledges the inadequacies of our current law. Such supposed legal absolutes will continue to fail in the face of gospel imperatives and human contexts, which exert as much more powerful sway over our reflection on immigration. Every human emergency has contributed to the movements of people. Almost all of us here in the United States, we have been received as foreigners or are relatively recent descendants of foreigners. All of these in response to emergencies and to opportunities. Almost every estimation of the impact of immigration on America has been, in the long run, positive. This is the human context that forms the very social reality of American life. The gospel and our American values give us no established basis to look upon the other as a threat. The abundance of our land and the openness of the American heart make a strong argument for receiving as many as possible of those who seek to be part of the life and the values of America. Finally, the actual context of people immigrating to America should force us both to reject unneeded restrictions and to accept human and economic realities as these have come to be. It's time to affirm the need for a generous reform of immigration policy, and even more, a generous acceptance of the other who comes in our midst, already blessed by God's plea for openness. Thank you.